Yes, welcome punters to a special edition, a Blue Diamond edition. Myself, Mick Gannon Dean Watling, will be joining you to cover off the 2024 Blue Diamond. Hopefully steer you into a winner in that race and maybe a few exotics. Good afternoon, Dino.
Gunnar, good to be here. I think it's an edition of the race that deserves to be dissected individually for one video. So excited to do it. We did a little bit with the spring last year. So hopefully the punters get something out of a little bit more in depth, just go into the one race. So I think it's a cracking edition this year. Form mimes everywhere. I potted the girls and they showed up. We got Lady of Camelot coming down, a couple of boom colts. So, yep, can't wait to rip into it.
Yep, should be good. Plenty of angles you can take here. Let's just kick off with the market, courtesy of Tab. On top, your favourite, Coleman, $4.40. Lady of Camelot, your second favourite, $5.50. High Octane, $6.50. Bodyguard, $5.50. I went and missed that one there. And then Anisa, $10. Longer the rest from there, Dino. Pretty open race according to the market. $4.40 your favourite, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 potentially. If Anisa shortens, 5 horses under double figures. So pretty congested at the top of the market there. A bit of a long tail there. You know, a couple of horses. Flyer, $101. Zestiman, $71. Rudu Royale, $51. And Spywire, $34. Doubling down, $41. So you could probably pen a few of those, which we'll get to later on as to reasons why. But the market sort of centered around 6 horses there, mate.
Yeah, it has. I think Barry has probably made it a little bit easier for the bookies to put up the prices and probably push others out. We speak of a couple, Royale. You talk of Stay Focused, you're drawing wide, and then you look at the good horses in the race, Bodyguard, Coleman, High Octane, those sort of horses are all drawn well. So that's probably why it's so congested, as well as then having a big tail. And there's probably some key form lines. But what I like about the race is you can have an opinion in this race and you can bet and bet confidently in the sense of you're going to get $4 plus for the winner no matter what, unless we see a big move on Saturday, Gano. So I love those races. It means you can spend a couple of hours on them and really nail them.
Interesting. So in regards to this, firstly, how the track will play. So the rail's out 4 meters the entire circuit, which is interesting. And very warm in Melbourne today. So we're filming on a Wednesday. This is lunchtime, 12:30 on a Wednesday. Warm today, warm tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, 19 degrees and just mild temperatures. So you'd probably think they put a fair bit of water on today, fair bit of water on tomorrow, and then back off the water. It'll be, you'd suggest like a good 4. And come, late in the afternoon, I think it's 4:15 on Saturday, you're going to have a track probably on the side of a good 4, good 3, assuming the weather forecast is correct, which sometimes it isn't. So how do you think the track will play rail at 4 meters at that setup with those conditions, Dino?
Yeah, well, last time I think we saw when the rail's in the true Caulfield, you can more often than not, the inside lanes is probably where you don't want to be. You want to be running to the sort of the running line. So rail out 4 meters, I think if we get a firm track race 8, we should have the pattern done. But a pre-forecast, I think sort of horses forward of midfield, especially in these big races, is where you want to be. I think probably hard inside will be fine. I think lanes 1, 2, 3, 4 probably be key. Outside of that, I think you want a genuine proper tempo if you want to be running on from last and over the top of these, especially on a firm, dry Caulfield track, Gunner.
Yep, and that 1,200 meter start point, do you find it a fair start point for most runners?
Yeah, it should be. It's from the shoot start. So you got out 400 or 500 meters to the first turn, probably a little bit less. And then you got obviously the straight. So you sort of want to find cover, but there is a good long straight. So we might see a couple of horses really punch up and then look to slide in and slide across, Stay Focused, a couple others that have good tactical speed but are drawn out. It's probably the start that you can make a move early, really push out of the gates and settle it. So in saying that, horses drawn inside that have speed, you're always advantageous because you don't have to use as much juice to get across. So I think horses up and in maybe probably suit in that setup.
Slight advantage to up on in is what we're working with at least today. And we'll obviously... It's always evolving come race day, but we can only predict what we think will happen, and then we can make our moves on race day as well. Let's have a look at the speed map just quickly. Spywire, they rode it off speed in the Magic Millions to get that 1,200 meters. You'd think from that wide gate they're going to have to do that again. Otherwise, I just don't think you're going to see this runner produce a strong 1,200 meters, and has had a bit of a break. So. You'd think from out wide, there's not a huge amount of pressure from out wide. I don't think that you're going to see higher Sagi. I don't think they're going to go handlebars down. I don't think Stay Focused. They'll go handlebars down. Other than that, I'm not sure why they would choose to go too hard from those outside barriers, which sort of leaves a couple of horses here to lead. And I think Anisa will probably go back, considering they rode quietly last start as well. So Lady Camelot almost leads by default, regardless of the Adrian Gay Waterhouse profile, Adam Hieronymus profile, almost leads by default just purely on speed alone. How did you see the speed map for the race, Dino?
Yep, I think you make a really good point. A couple of those horses, they just don't have the profile to offset those wide gates. Bywire, yes, could probably do it, but hasn't been since the Magic Million. So I doubt they would be doing that. I think Stay Focused is the only one, Gunner. I think that if they go back, it's no hope, but it's a horse that does have good tactical speed. I think gate 15, we might see it be the one that slides forward. And Ease is interesting. Obviously, they went back from the gate first up, ran on. I'd suggest they might be a lot more positive and use that gate here. Not saying they're going to lead, but I think it will land definitely in the first 6 in running, or first 8, definitely. Coleman's another one who they can probably use up. He's one who can sit up front. But I think the more you read this speed map is, I doubt they're going to take on Waterhouse and Bott, because a lot of stables, their horses aren't trained the same as them, and you sort of blow your own horse up trying to take them on. So I think that bodes really well for Lady Camelot. In beyond that, I think Ineza gets a really lovely run. I think High Octane's the one that can close off. Coleman and Bodyguard all get nice sits off them, but I don't think they want to give Lady of Camelot too much or not enough pressure up front, because I think she can pinch it.
Yep. I think you'll see Lady of Camelot lead. I think you've got Kuryanagi that will be leaders back from barrier 2. Absolutely perfect for it. Coleman and Ineza won't be too far away from those with the absolute run of the race, and Bodyguard will be, tracking those, and then the rest of them will just be 3 wide and beyond.
Yeah, we should see it.
Say with speed, there'll be a 3 wide line for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going to
say. Probably 4
so,
wide to be fair,
especially from that starting point, because it's so kind until the turn. I think we'll definitely see a 3 wide line, which bodes well for a lot of these horses' chances, probably off the speed. But in saying that, it's probably not the place you want to be.
Yep, High Octane will be one of those midfield, smoking the pipe and just needs the pace on, and can be flying late. All right, let's have a bit of a chat about some form lines here. There's 3 key form lines that I found, Dino, and I'll read these out to you. So the Bodyguard, the Maribyrnong Plate, 13 horses have had starts since then, produced 4 winners. Bodyguard comes from that race. The Coleman comes from the Magic Millions debutante. I think there was... From that race there, I'm just bringing it up. It's just come off my screen. But that race there for Coleman, you had 13 starts, 4 winners as well. So the same as that. And then the Lady Camelot Gym Crack, where she didn't win that race, but there were 7 runners from that, 3 winners, 2 place getters, form lines of Frank there. And with Lady Camelot as well, I think you saw she beat Extreme Diva by 3.6. Extreme Diva came out and ran Switzerland to 1.6. So some form lines that have probably stacked up there for mine. They're the 3 key form lines. Have you found any key form lines to follow for the race?
Well, I think you make a good point. A lot of these form lines do tie into each other, and they tie into Sydney, which definitely helps with Lady of Camelot. The profile I focused on is probably in more recency, in the sense of the start prior to the Blue Diamond. I think 5 of their last 6 have come through the preludes. I think that's 4 boys, and the 1 girl was Liar. In saying that, Written By and Liar, the only 2 of those 6 that actually won the prelude to go on to win it. I think we saw last year, horse, it's gone across my mind. You might be able to help me out. Hong Kong horse, Gano. Give me 2 secs. I'll find it. Little Bros. So he ran second in the Blue Diamond Prelude. Tagaloa ran 3rd. And there's a couple of others as well. So I think the Blue Diamond Prelude is the key lead up, and that's what I focused on. From there, I've sort of split them. The boys and the girls, obviously, they're already split. I think you got to figure out which is the better group of them. And I think the males are definitely better this year. And I think the left field horse is Lady of Camelot, who brings just a completely different profile to this year's Blue Diamond. I think any other stable, you could maybe pot it, but I doubt you can pot it coming from that stable. They have these plans worked out a long way out, and they more often than not nail it. So a little bit of a profile. So Preludes is for me.
Yep, very good. We're about to go runner by runner. There's a fair chance we might just pen a couple of these and then take a deeper dive into others. Before we do so, there's a couple points I want to make. There's 3 horses in this race go 1,000 to 1,200 meters. That has to be a massive, massive query. 1,000 to 1,200 meters. Anisa, Coleman, doubling down. They're the 3. Coleman looks a classy enough type to overcome that. Anisa, I'm not completely sold. The spruik is enormous, and doubling down first up. 1,000 to 1,200 has to be a big concern. Do you have concerns over that step up?
Yep. Well, it's a concern outside looking beyond a blue diamond. Any sort of form race, I tend not to trust 1,000-meter figure on paper. You want to see them do it 11 and 1,200 meters. So I think it's a massive query in the sense of trusting that and taking the price for the market, trusting that, which I think it's done with Coleman.
Yep.
Maybe not an Easer, but Coleman's definitely, they've chimed in. I would be a little bit against it in the sense of I like 1,100 meter. Speaking of the last 6 runners, winners of this race, they've all come through the preludes. And the outlier to that was Artorias, who had a 1,300 meter run back to 1,200 meters. So the profile of the last 6 years suggests that, yes, that is key without having the stats in front of me of horses going 1,000 straight to the diamond, Ganno.
There you go. So 1,100 meters seems to be the key. You might need it. There might be an outlier there, but it's going to have to be very, very classy to do so. Lady Camelot is a horse that came through an 1,100 meter race in a very, very fast time. And very fast time on the day, and they went quick in the race. That's the kind of profile that I'm looking for. There's a few concerns over how quick some of these went in their races and how soft their wins were. Let's kick it off, Dino. Let's kick off here with Rue de Royale, not a horse that I have much time for in this race, unfortunately. Do you give it a chance at all?
I think it's a chance. The Gates, the massive query. Gates win big races, and Gates 17, albeit will come in a couple. I just can't see it winning. I don't think there's enough pressure up front.
Yep, Spywire went up to the Magic Millions, comes back here. That was on a 7-day backup, comes here, draws a gate that just, it's going to be really, really tough for Spywire from there. I think that their best chance is just going back and hoping that they overdo it and then just chiming in late. And it can definitely run in the top half of the field that way. If they go the other way and they try to burn the candle at both ends, I think he will be vulnerable. And yeah, I find him a very tough betting proposition, Dino.
Yeah, I agree. I think if it had the race fitness, you could roll forward. Doesn't have the race fitness, has to take its medicine, which I think then makes it a non-winning chance, Gano.
Yep, love it. Bodyguard comes out of a reasonably quick enough run race for me. I was pretty happy with that, the Blue Diamond Prelude, Colts and Gildings version, and was pretty impressive. Ticks plenty of boxes. I think it's right there in the race. And I'm actually starting to warm to this horse a lot now. Definitely have it in my top 3, Dino.
Yeah, it's an interesting horse. It trials well enough, but its latest trial before winning the Prelude first up was a little bit lackluster. Did that last preparation. I love its profile in the sense it's had a win, a spell, a preparation under its belt. So that bodes really well compared to a horse trying to do it in its first sort of campaign. I think you could make a case that got the absolute PR last start, but in saying that, it's going to get the absolute PR here. Again, gate 6, going to get the perfect run. Going to have upside. Snowden's always improved their horses throughout the preparation. They have a great second up strike rate. My slight query was how well enough found it is coming off that perfect run. But I think it's a definite chance in this race, and you definitely can't pot it.
Beautiful. You got Coleman coming through here through the Chairman's Stakes. It was a really nice winner, won by 2.8 lengths. Look, really good, but now has to go 1,000 to 1,200, which is a profile which we don't really like. Anisa was second there. Behind Anisa was a horse called Counter Offensive that was just beaten 2.3 in what you could probably say a lesser race. What are your thoughts on Coleman?
I think you've summed it up really well there. All those points lean towards it being under the odds in the market. The query was where it was ridden on last start winning that race, it was the place to be for that day. So I think it was sort of suited again. Don't like the 1,000 to 1,200 meter profile, and then it comes up favourite. So I think off that, you got to sort of bring it back a couple of points. The big tick for it's going to get the run of the race. Again, gate 7's beautiful gate, probably sits just in behind the leaders, maybe a pair further back. So for that reason, you can't completely pot it. But at the price, I don't think it deserves to be favourite for this race, Ganno.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Just off pure ratings alone, it was right there. The more you scratch the surface, the more I think the horse could be more vulnerable than what I first suspected. Stay Focused here was beaten half a length by Bodyguard. Appeared to have its chance or be wide throughout last start. What are your thoughts on Stay Focused? Obviously, has to overcome that wide barrier.
Yeah, well, if you're an SP profile person, you'd love this sort of setup. SP $3.40 last start compared to Bodyguard $4.20. I thought Stay Focused, trap wide, gave Bodyguard the perfect toe into the race. I think if you flip the script, I think Stay Focused beats Bodyguard. Therefore, you can make a case that it shouldn't be $16. and Bodyguard 6. The downfall's the gate. I think its only chance is if it rolls forward. I think it can. So I think it's the best rough in the race. I just don't know how it's that sort of price. I know the gate probably scares a lot off. I'd love to see a note or Stewart's report suggesting they're going to change the tactics to roll forward. But I thought it was one of the better roughies in the race, going to just purely off an SP profile from the prelude.
Yeah, love it. I think you're spot on. Makes perfect sense. If it had a drawn 6 and Bodyguard had a drawn 15, then the prices would be significantly different, and that's the game. It's a bit of luck there when it comes to those barriers. However, you could just lob there on Saturday. Anything could happen, and the inside could be completely off. Highly unlikely, but you just never know. And that's the game we play. Dublin down first up off 109 days. Draws very well in barrier 3 for the McAvoy stable. Do you give it any hope at all?
Yeah, its win was and well supported. Its win down the straight in the Maribyrnong plate, albeit second Blue Stratum hasn't done anything, and Odison was disappointing last week and in the English Millennium. So I don't think first up into a high pressure race is my profile. Gano, you?
Yep. You're spot on. Absolutely spot on. I'm going to let that one go, Dino. Traffic Warden here, number 7 for Godolphin.
Yep, comes through a nice enough race last start in the Canterbury Stakes, won by Bruce. Fearless was good in behind. I thought it had its chance, and I thought it was plain. It had a little setback prior to that, and we know how important a clear passage as a 2-year-old any race, to be honest, to get to the grand final without setbacks. So I think I want to be against it. Gate 14 probably just confirms to me that it's not a winning chance in my mind.
Yeah, just looks a length or so behind these better horses for me. And when I was referencing Bodyguard earlier too, it was the Maribyrnong trial. It wasn't the actual Maribyrnong plate, but whatever. Close enough. It's good enough sometimes. Dino, high Octane, a horse that you got $51 about early on. Big spruik on it after its first victory, probably regressed a length or so. But was, in fairness, wasn't really given every possible. It was held up for a majority or for a good part of that run, probably in the inferior going as well. Gets to a barrier that's going to give it its every possible chance. You got Blake Shin aboard. Gee whiz, there was absolutely no excuses for a high Octane this weekend.
No, I think the only excuse and the only slight query for me is if they don't go hard enough and he doesn't get his chance. But what I loved about last start, I know SPs for 2-year-olds can mean absolutely nothing, but in the sense of confirming how good his first start run was, he was absolutely hammered in the market, starting $2.30 in front of Bodyguard. Stay focused in that Blue Diamond prelude. I think that's the form line. I referenced the historical profile of that. So I love that setup. Gate 10's perfect. He can either land just off him, 3 wide line potentially. He wasn't tested last start, which I don't completely like. I would have liked him to be at least a little bit more tested in the sense of flying late and grabbing sort of 3rd or 4th. He just had absolutely no luck. So he's priced off a little bit off hype, which scares me. But I still think there's enough juice in the market that you could back him here in the race, and I'll be backing him. I just think in the sense that we can get Coleman and a couple of others out, I think you can make a case to shorten him. But interested to hear your thoughts, because I know you didn't like the setup leading into this.
Yeah, it's just not that keen on it. I thought it was, it just didn't show a huge amount of the desire probably through the line that I would have liked, from the 200 to the finish. As necessarily as I would have liked, but you just don't know. Like, the horse didn't come out. I don't know what Blake Shin's intentions were. You can't back them all, and I'm happy to opt out. Horses that need luck in run and need things to go their way because of where they're positioned, they're always very, very hard to back, and you want a really good price about that. I was lucky enough to chime into the tip that you gave us to back this horse for $51. So we've got a bit of a ticket going, something going there, and good luck to everyone that does. However, on the day, it's not a horse that I'm searching for to back just purely off racing pattern.
It'd be fascinating to see what the market does with it on race day. I think that would be a really big guide for us in the sense of we didn't get a guide last start. So what the market does with it, I think will be one of the most fascinating points come race time.
Yep, Zesty Man comes from that English Millennium, where I thought it probably had enough chance. I don't think that's the right race to be coming through. They didn't send fully lit here, so just probably not the right form lines for me. Any opinion on it? And then if nothing on it, maybe just move to Fearless and give me your thoughts on Fearless.
Yep, we'll move straight to Fearless. Oh, I love the first up effort. Really green. The debutant horse or the horse on debut in the race sort of checked it at the 400 meter mark and just put it off balance. I think a fairer track or a more, not a fairer track, the track played beautifully. A more high tempoed contest. I think Fearless runs over the top. I think it's a really, really smart 2-year-old. I like it as a horse. Gate 16 scares me. I think they need to have 3 or 4 horses go forward, put a stack of pressure on Lady Camelot, set the race up for something to fly, and Fearless could run home. But best chance of this horse is 3 wide line from gate 16. I think the gate, which I always speak about in big races, runs in transits, is everything going for me.
Yeah, just it's a massive task to overcome that gate. The map looks terrible, and the problem you've got is there's 3 or 4 really good quality on pace horses that if 2 or 3 of them,
Yeah.
you know, if the first 2, don't get the job done, the ones behind it probably will. And if the high quality horses were back markers, then for
Yeah.
sure this horse has a chance. But it's really really hard to steer into anything beyond midfield when like the highest quality horses in this race are going to be sitting in the top sort of 6 to 8. So
Agree.
no knock on the horse itself, and moving forward, he could most definitely be a horse to follow, but just not at this race shape from that barrier. Hey, Sagi here for Jamie Carr, barrier 11. There or thereabouts for me. What are your thoughts on this horse?
Yeah, interesting. I potted it last start and potted the preview form. It's looking to do what Lyre did a couple of years ago, win the prelude and then win the Blue Diamond. I just don't know how good these fillies are yet. The thing that scares me about Hey Sugi was how good the win was last start and how much improvement she showed between the preview and the prelude. If she does that again here, I think she's a big chance. Gate makes it tricky, and I think the market's gravitated towards the Colts and Geldings. So they're thereabouts enough, but I couldn't chime in currently, Gano.
Yep, Anisa, 1,000 to 1,200 meters. Of course, you do have Damian Lane, who will be, relatively aggressive. That's just the way he rides. And you'd have to think that this horse has a big chance. The spruik has been huge. And just on Damian Lane, 66.1% of his rides, he lands within 3 lengths of the leader. So
that's why he's so good.
You could you could very much expect that to occur on this occasion aboard Anisa from barrier 5. They're not going to waste that. Can Anisa win this race? 1,000, 1,200, big question mark for me. Of course, she could win the race. She's one of those that are just behind the leading pack that looks to have a fair bit of ability, and I'd rather be with her than a back marker. Dino?
Yeah, I think you make a good point, and we always talk about price. It's never a love affair with a horse. You look at Coleman, who comes out the same last start effort as Nisa, and we pot him at the price purely because he's short and it's 1,000 to 1,200 meters. I think you flip the script, and Nisa's similar gate, going to get similar run, but now we're getting $11 to go 1,000 to 1,200 meters. So I think there's enough juice in the price. If you liked her and wanted to sort of put that distance rise query to the side, you could have a bet. In comparison to Coleman, I couldn't. I think he's just way too short to take the risk. So I think she's definitely in the race. Not the right profile, which I'm big on historical profiles, but you get a price. If you like her, I could not turn you out of her.
Yep, love it. He's a horse that we, some of the SEN Giddy Up listeners may also have a futures ticket on Lady of Camelot around the $15 mark. So if you've got $15 Lady of Camelot and $51 High Octane, good luck to you because you're sitting pretty. Look, she's coming through a very fast run race. They went hard enough early. She copped one whack over the back. I think it was TC was aboard. Timmy Clark was aboard, and she took off. And I know you were very impressed with how she did it. I was very impressed with how she did it. She lands down here, draws a gate, is 11 to 1,200 meters, which I think is perfect from a stable that has a very, very good guide on where these 2-year-olds are at. And obviously the favourite Stormboy for the Golden Slipper. I like the half ranking of the form with Extreme Diva getting pretty close to Switzerland. Switzerland's held in high regard and currently Golden Slipper second favourite. So Lady Camelot ticks a lot of boxes for me. You know what you're going to get, which is super important, isn't it, Dino? We know she's going forward. Look, if they try to take her on, they can. She can just sit there, outside leader or whatever. She'll be either leading or outside leader. So whatever happens, she'll be there. And speaking of statistics of jockeys that land within 3 lengths of the lead, well, Adam Hieronymus, 67.3%. Quite remarkable stat, really. But then when you break it down, look who he's riding for most of the time. Lady on Camelot, clearly on top for me. Dino, what do you think?
Yep. I think you've made some terrific points there. What I loved most about her last start win in the Widden Stakes was her strength late. So they're going out around 1 length faster than average to the 6. And I thought, and you look at the race, you think she might compound and grind home and just win. But she's then extended and come home 2 lengths faster than average. So that just screams to me, get me to 1,200 meters. I love the response to the slap of the whip. That just tells me maybe she's just needs a little reminder, but she's got abundance ability, right profile, right stable, 3 weeks between runs. I love for this setup. Up to 1,200 meters, they'll get the fitness in her legs. I think the only query you can have, and it's the only possible query, is if the inside's off, which we'll know by race 8. But I think she'll start firm favourite. I think she'll start sub $4,
Wow.
unless the inside's off. I potted her last start. The market support, everything was phenomenal. So she's one that's completely changed my mind. I think she has to be a bet in this race.
Yep, and for our Melbourne friends and anyone that's interstate watching this, I don't have many friends across the ditch after I chose think about it over Imperatrice, but Adam Hieronymus, the Hippo, when he rides for Gay and Adrian, last 109 rides, 27% strike rate, 55% place strike rate. That's a 27% win, 55% place at a profit on turnover of 22%. So don't worry that Timmy Clark's not aboard.
No.
He goes good. And this was also the jockey that was engaged for Storm Boy,
Yes.
which might just make me think, and Gay's very good at this. She looks after her jockeys, and she said, "Don't worry, Adam. I'll give you the blue diamond.
Yep.
You hop off this one, but I'll give you the blue diamond. I'll look after you. Don't you worry about that, son." And
I think you hit the nail on the head there, Gano.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to see here. Dino, Kiranagi is a horse that definitely draws well, gets the gun. Brent Navdala comes back from Hong Kong for this ride. He's in really good form. I think a horse that you probably can't discount. What are your thoughts on it?
Yep, inside rail, inside part of the track, it's going to be key for this horse. We'll know by this race if it's any good. I thought it was good back to the inside last start. That wasn't the place you wanted to be against Sagi. So I think you can add lengths there. It's just in your mind if you want to take the girls prelude against the boys, which I don't want to do. So for that reason, I want to be a little bit against. But in saying that, you can't turn someone out of an $18 shot that ran well last start.
Yeah, spot on. Probably the right play, the right price to find out. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about where the horse was in the run. A couple of runners left to go through, Dino. What you're going to find here is that there's a couple of emergencies. The runners that I speak of, Matisse, Flyer, In Her Eyes, and Ultimatum. I don't have any of them in contention. You?
No, Matisse comes out of the girls' prelude behind Kiranagi and Sagi, but similar price. I think there's not much between them. Gate 1 helps, but the rest of them, Fly, In Her Eyes, and Ultimatum, I doubt they can make an impression here in the Blue Diamond.
Yep, good stuff. Righto, my top 3 for the Blue Diamond. Keep it really simple. It's pretty obvious. Lady Camelot on top. Colin was a horse I just think might be classy enough to come through and overcome a few obstacles that we sort of touched on. The major one being the 1,000 to 1,200 meters. And Bodyguard right there. But I had Lady Camelot clearly on top, Bodyguard right there. And look, if you want to play exotics, Kiranagi is a horse there that just maps an absolute treat. High Octane will be the one flying at them late, I believe. And, well, it's probably where I'll draw the line there, Dino. I think Hayasugi probably hasn't drawn as well as I would have liked, but that's how I see the race unfolding. Give us your top 3 and maybe a roughie.
Yep, top 3, Lady of Camelot on top as well. I just think it's bulletproof profile for this race. Only thing she doesn't have is the historical profile, but don't let that discount you. High Octane has to be there. They're the 2 bets in the race. I think you can have a good bet on both of them. And in for third, Bodyguard. Just finding it hard to get a profile on how good he actually is. So I don't want to be against him. I want to have him on my side, and I think he gets a dream run. So them 3 are clearly the top 3 for me. I reckon the best roughie is stay focused. I think if you can offset that gate, go forward and get a spot, he should not be $16 compared to Bodyguard 6. So he's my roughie of the race, but I'll be having a really good bet on Lady of Camelot and High Octane. So that's the way I look at it, Gano, in an outstanding edition of the Blue Diamond.
Super stuff. There it is, punters. Your Blue Diamond preview for 2024. Dean Watling from deanwatling.com. If you want his stuff, go check it out. It's great. He's always tipping winners, and he's built a great community. So make sure you get involved there. If you want anything from me, thegreattipoff.com, search Mick Gannon. That simple. Dino, thanks again, mate. We'll be back probably next week with another Group 1 preview. Great idea. If you've got a comment, leave it. You want to let us know who's going to win the Blue Diamond? let us know. If you want to pot us, we're used to it. Pot us. But we do appreciate you listening, and your comments and your engagement is our oxygen. So keep on going with that. Dino, thanks a bunch, mate.
Thanks, mate, and good luck to all the punters in the Blue Diamond.